Hey everyone. My name is Diana and I am the owner of Steward Strategies, which is a social media agency that really is focused on small and medium-sized businesses. My passion and the purpose and reason why I'm here with my colleague, Daren Sanborn, is really because we really just want to help as many small to medium-sized businesses with their marketing. We see a lot of opportunity and a lot of just tips and tricks that I think we can share that can improve their business. And so we're going to talk about those today. But first, let me introduce you to Daren.
Hey, everybody. As Diana said, my name is Daren Sanborn. I am a website developer living right here in Vistancia. Sorry. Oh, my goodness.
It's okay.
Living right here in Vistancia. And so I'm a website designer and developer. I design websites for anybody from small businesses to large businesses. I also do web applications. So looking forward to chatting.
Yep. So today we're going to kind of break our Zoom call into three different parts. One is going to just be trends and things that you guys should be aware of right now. And then Daren will actually dive in specifically to web design and serious tips that you should consider for what digital marketing looks like for you. And then I will end with just social media and best practices and reminders of if you're not doing these things, you absolutely need to do them. So first, before we get started, let's talk about the trends that you should consider. I will say this every video, so get used to it. Video. You have to start practicing video. You have to start filming yourself or portions of your business or service. It is extremely important and is always going to see more eyeballs and more engagements and live longer across all of the social media sites. And I promise it will get easier the more that you do it. Daren, what are your thoughts about video on web design?
So videos, as people I'm sure can relate, they can be a little bit awkward. Just like right now, this is a little bit awkward. This is like the first recorded video I have ever done. I've been doing Zoom meetings for months now, but videos are challenging, but they are also super beneficial for lots of different reasons. YouTube is obviously owned by Google, if anybody didn't know that. So when you put out a video, if you put it up on YouTube, you get an SEO bump almost immediately. Videos are great. It's a great way to share different places. You can record one video and share it in several different places, which also helps with SEO. You can embed it on your website, all the other social mediums. So it's huge if you can get past the uncomfort of being on the camera.
And I think, I would strongly encourage you to, you should invest, a little bit of money into one or two good videos that are high dev, that tell a really amazing brand story, but you don't need that every single time. You just need one or two core that can live forever, right? I call it evergreen, and that can really shine bright on your website and on your social media accounts. But definitely you need to get familiar with your iPhone. You have a powerful tool in your hand and people don't need always high res. They want the real you. So definitely get ready and start practicing that. The second trend, and it's not really a trend, more of an announcement, Facebook and Twitter both are seeing just huge numbers of user growth. And I think it's not much of a surprise because everyone's like, oh, everyone's on social all the time. I'm on social all the time. You check your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter. But I think the fact that they're reporting on it and they're seeing the volume that they do just reiterates everyone is spending and consuming on those channels and you have to be there. And I think, something that brings into web development, to talk about, Daren, is that your content has the ability to drive traffic to your site, right? People are going to consume there and they're going to share links and they're going to share information and they want information from you. That's your chance to get more traffic to your site.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Pinterest just reported results today and their user growth was up exponentially. It was up dramatically. I just read an article about that a little while ago, which just goes to show, like Diana just said, people are surfing like crazy. And so the other thing that's great about Pinterest is if you have a blog post, Pinterest is just another way that your blog post or your video or something can be seen by more people. So it works a little bit differently, obviously, than Instagram and Facebook, but everybody's online these days. Everybody is
I know.
just constantly surfing.
And you should look at your social media channel as a way to support your traffic and to control the traffic that you're driving to your site, you know, and we'll talk about SEO later, but that's a beast, you know, and that's something that takes a lot of time. And the website is kind of that holy grail of all this information. Like, you've got to be able to drive it, and social media is the place to have access to those people to do it. So the next trend I was going to talk about is the highlight section on Instagram. So stories right now are the hottest thing, and they're basically a free billboard for you to use on social media. If you're not familiar, it's those little highlighted circles on the top of your Instagram screen, and you click through. Pretty quickly, your friends are updating it, businesses are updating, but it's a free billboard, and it actually kind of jumps you over the algorithm, which we can talk about another time, but it's a strategy you should be using. With that being said, your highlights are kind of that mini menu screen as someone hops onto your Instagram account to see what you're about. And so you should really bundle both your stories in a format or in a grouping that tells a consistent story, and then basically highlight them into one category. And I think that's really similar to what you see on web design with how important a menu is. It's just as important on Instagram highlights right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the menu is the first place people start. It's with the exception of the logo, the menu, the nav bar is pretty much the first thing that they see. So what I try to tell most clients is try to get every page in that menu, unless your site is like, 40 to 50 pages. But if you have anywhere from 5 to 15 pages, try to make every page accessible just right from the main navigation.
Absolutely. And then secondly, or next, I guess, is TikTok. So I'm not going to dive into TikTok. I haven't explored it too much personally. My husband and son have. They do quite a few videos together. But right now, I just want to share, it is blowing up in the Arizona food scene right now. It is unreal, the amount of views that they're seeing. And so if you are in the food industry in Arizona, you should be on TikTok, or at least explore heavily with how to partner with some of the Arizona influencers there, because it's unreal. They're seeing like 300,000 views sometimes. So definitely wanted to call that out. But then also, Daren, ask you, I know that there's a lot of, is there anything new in web design that's happening right now, or like a new platform, a new thing that's out? Or is it really kind of the tried and true, WordPress and GoDaddy and those types of sites that you're seeing?
There's a lot of newer technologies that are coming out, but they're all still in their sort of infancy stages. So
okay.
There's a few really, I won't get too techy, but there's a few big things that people use a lot these days. There's some responsive frameworks. There's one called Bootstrap, and there's a few other ones. But in terms of Java, different frameworks, there's a lot of new ones that are coming out that they're probably going to end up merging over time. But and in terms of the hosting space, it's still the same big players. There's the build your own, the Squarespace, Weebly, Wix. There's the WordPress, host it. And then there's, just do everything on your own. So those are kind of still the big players.
Okay. Awesome. And before we kind of transition over to you, Daren, to talk a little bit more about just kind of web design best practices and things like that, something I was just thinking about, and we kind of were chatting about earlier today is WordPress or other sites versus kind of these templated sites. And I personally, am going through that right now, where I did build my own site on Weebly. It was awesome. It was fun. It was something, this project that I had, and I spent a lot of hours on it, and I'm still not happy with it. And there's still so many restrictions. And as my business has grown and as I viewed, I'm a marketer, like there's things that I need and I want to look good. It just is giving me those restrictions. And so talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on kind of those templated sites. I know you are focused. I mean, your business is WordPress. You see it. I've played around with it. It is really easy to use, but just what are your thoughts today and kind of the world and environment of people building on templated sites and the transition or the need to want to do more with them? Yeah,
so it really comes down to flexibility versus, I'll say, ease of use, but what I mean by that is, so let's say you go with a builder like a Wix, a Weebly, or a Squarespace. You do not have as much. You pick a theme, and if you want to vary from that theme more than just a small amount, you're pretty limited. You're pretty much stuck with everything where it's at, and trying to even move menus or add some padding or just changing it up a little bit can be very difficult. I have tried that many times with clients that have a site that they want to just modify a little bit, and it ends up being challenging to do. And I understand why. Their goal is to build something that's easy for people to build a site. The other thing that is nice about those sites, I'm not going to just simply bash all the other ones. They do have a lot of positive, a lot of good things about it. If you just want to build a site and you can find a theme that you like, it can be pretty straightforward to build, and they have a lot of their tools that are baked into it. You want to have an email opt-in. It's easy to do those types of things. They also, what you're going to end up getting is you're going to pay a little bit more on a monthly fee, because what they'll do is they'll have one monthly fee which includes everything, and whereas with something else like a WordPress, the hosting is going to be less, but there might be a little bit more work there, or you might need to kind of learn how to use WordPress. So it really comes down to what I tell most people is go try it out, because almost every one of these have a free 14 days, free 30-day trial. Try out Squarespace, Wix, or Weebly. See which one you like. And if you find one you like and you pick a site that you really like, sometimes you can get a free site. Some of these builders have, if you leave the powered by at the top or the bottom, you can have a site for free or almost free. So, if you're really cash strapped, it's not a bad way to go. It's not my ideal way, but then again, when I design a site, I like to have complete control over all the different pieces. It just works best for me. So.
And I think long term too, what is your long-term strategy with the use of a website or your business? Because that's what happened to me, right? Is I built, I have 14 blog drafts in my Weebly right now. And I have, probably 14 more blog articles up there, but I do not like how it looks. And so I'm at this standstill of I don't want to keep posting if I know I'm not going to continue to use it. But then how do I transition and transfer all of that work over when there's a good chance that I might have even, picked up some SEO keywords and search opportunities. So just something to think about as people decide. I know that was a lesson learned for me that I'm definitely going to have to move over, because it's just not the flexibility that I want or need. Well, I'll hand it over to you, Daren, if you want to give any more updates or things that you want to chat about from a web design best practices, especially in current environment for businesses.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit less about best practices and trends going on, and more just about where we're at and why this is a good time to think about your website. Obviously, we talked about this already. Everybody's online. So everybody's online more. People are working from home, sitting in front of their computer. And what that means obviously is that when somebody goes and takes a break, they're going to be Googling more. They're going to be looking for sites more. They're going to be looking for whatever you may do more. So now's a great time. If there was a good time to invest a little bit of time in your website, it's now. The other thing to remember is, I know the economy's a little bit out of whack. Some people were way more busy than before. Some people are unfortunately unemployed. They've been furloughed, their work's been cut. And I know this is hard for everybody, especially those in a bad place, but eventually the economy will pick back up. We will eventually get back to some semblance of normal. When that is, nobody really knows. But the expression I hear all the time is dig the well before you get thirsty. When it comes to anything, and thinking about your website. The other thing to remember is that Google slows down for nobody. Google is always there. And where do people go? Google is a verb. it used to be like there was 3 main search engines, and most people can't even name what the third one is anymore. So Google is 99 point whatever percent of the traffic. I don't know if that stat's correct, but basically Google slows
Sounds
down
right.
for no reason. Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing I just want to mention is that your website is, in my opinion, it's basically like the first thing that you really should think about when it comes to marketing your business. I do get the question a lot. Well, I don't really do I really need a website to market my business? I mean, technically, no, you don't. If because every business is different. However, if you don't have a website, you make it harder for people to find you.
Yeah.
You make it it makes things more difficult.
It legitimizes it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You can present an image of yourself. You can present an image of your business. You can provide the information to them that they might have to call you for every time. And so think about, who you are, how long have you been in business, what's your pricing, depending on what you do. All of that stuff you put on a website and it's there. And then when somebody calls, they don't have to say, well, how much does it cost to do X? If it's already on your website, or you can drive them to your website. So those are just kind of some of the things to think about with everything we've got going on right now. And then in terms of a couple like tips and tricks, things you can think about. So if you don't have a website, definitely think about it. Going back to try a free site. Play around with some of the tools that exist. If you do have a website, start thinking about how you can change it up right now. What can you do to your website? You can add more content. You can spruce up your content. You can personalize your business a little bit more. We talked about this in our class a few months ago, but people want to do business with people. They don't want to do business with companies. So when you go to somebody's website, you want to read about them. You want to read about the company and who started it. People want to get a feel for who the owners are, unless it's a, megalithic company. Starting a blog. I'm sorry, do you want to jump in?
No, one, I was going to say it's the exact same for social, right? They want that connection. And that's why I love social media, because it allows people who always hid behind a business or wasn't able to necessarily tell their story consistently can. And it makes a difference. I mean, in particular, one client that I have right now, when you're doing your own social media, sometimes you feel weird always posting maybe your selfies or you. But I think it finally clicked to him that he is the business and people want to see and hear from him. And that he felt a little bit better, I think, having someone else help kind of navigate and shape that story for him. But there's no question. I mean, you can try to convince yourself you should walk out of the business and turn it into a brand. And I disagree with that. I think if you're a small to medium-sized business, like your face, your brand, your message, your family is a part of that, and people care. And that's why they shop that way.
Yep, absolutely. So especially in these days, I'm sure people can relate that there's a lot of push for helping local businesses, helping the small businesses right now. They're struggling even more so than the larger businesses. So even more than that, these small businesses, they people want to help them because because their next door neighbor is the owner of the restaurant. They want to help them out because they know that. And so having an about page which talks about, when did the business start? When was it founded? Those types of things. So that's one of the low hanging fruit when it comes to like updating your website. Another one is we've talked about this time, Dave, is starting a blog. And that is hard for some people. Some people, it all depends on your business. But if you have a business that might relate to having a blog, now's a great time. And you don't have to write 3-page long blog articles, 300 to 500 words, on one direct topic it helps immensely. And I mean, the thing that's ironic is that I should be blogging, for my business. I should be blogging, and I'm not even doing it myself right now. And so and partly it's just because there's a lot of reasons why I'm not blogging personally, but if you are looking for ways to grow your business and you have some free time, definitely think about that. I mentioned adding more content to your site. Kind of go through your site. The other thing that's good to do is have friends or coworkers or other people you know look at your site and ask for their honest feedback. And don't ask for them, do you like it or not? Because everybody's gonna say, oh, I liked it. Ask them like pointed questions, like, do you feel like, do you think the website explains my business enough? Do you feel like, what kind of questions did you have about my business that you didn't find on the website? You know,
and I think the same for social. Like,
mhm.
ask your friends and your family, of course, to connect with you and to engage with their content, but to give them feedback. Like, do you like what this looks like? Would you engage with it? Did it get my message across? Like, they owe it to you. I mean, like, whatever you want to call it, like, they're your friends and family and they're rooting for you. Like, they owe it to you to be honest and to share some feedback and listen. I mean, they're going to be the ones that are supporting you the hardest. So on social media sites too, ask them to browse and look around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, from an SEO perspective, this is kind of a little bit more advanced, but, you know, think about keywords that you might want somebody to use to find your site, and just try to interject those keywords a little bit. In a later video, we'll go through more about SEO because it's kind of more of an advanced topic. And then there's a few other things, you know, if your site, there's some ways to check if your site is mobile friendly. If your site's not mobile friendly, you're going to get massively dinged by Google. So if you actually Google like mobile friendly checker or page or site check, you can punch in a URL and it'll tell you whether it's mobile friendly or not. You want to make sure it is. And then there's a couple other small things, you know, think about creating a mailing list, an email list, ways to generate like a pop-up, an email opt-in pop-up. That's a little bit more advanced. And then maybe if it seems like your site is running slow, there's a Google page speed checker. So if you Google page speed, you can punch in your website and it'll tell you, and that will also help SEO. But I think just kind of to start is just think about your site and add more content. That'll help with SEO, but it will also help just with marketing your business, you know, a little bit more. So.
No, for sure. I think those are all great tips, and honestly, like, really relevant to just digital marketing as a whole. And a lot of those best practices and those things that you should look for is easy content and things that you can translate over to social media. I mean, social media is just like an evergreen kind of website on a platform that you just don't own, right? And it's the same thing, and it's just more you get creative and you get to choose and blast the message versus having people find you or, you know, looking for your kind of information and shopping around. So they complement each other. So don't think that they're completely different beasts. I don't think they are at all. There's a lot of tactics that you should be using across both. So I think, I mean, Daren, if there's anything else, I think that's it for today. For next week, I definitely plan on going over more of social media, and just if you're still unsure how to use it in your business, there's 5 things that I really want you to think about. And also just, you know, how do you post? What should you post? And, you know, the infamous, like, how do I get more followers? And is that something that's really important? And those are things that I'm planning on talking about next week. But before we head out, is there anything that you want to say, Daren?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe next week I'll dive a little bit more into some of the advanced topics. We don't want to overload everybody, you know, in this first video. So yeah.
And the last thing I was going to say is Daren and I are really open to free consultations, and we'd love to actually host and share and deliver some feedback to any business owner that wants it. So if you are interested in us diving into and giving some feedback around your website and your social media with the goal to improve it and to improve your strategy, it's free. Like, let us know, send us a message, and we'd be happy to host you and talk about it openly. So also, last plug is definitely consider joining our Grow West Valley Biz group. It's on Facebook. It's a private group. There's 100 other business owners just like yourself that are a part of it. The goal for Daren and I is really just to continue to grow our community, which we both live in the West Valley. We live in Peoria, Arizona. We want to see our neighbors and our community succeed. So hop over there. We're giving some free tips and advice from time to time. So we'd love to see you on that. Again, Grow West Valley Biz Facebook group. And we will see you later, you guys. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everyone.